Hi everyone, my name is Pranav and I am a senior developer advocate here at ServiceNow and I welcome you to the first ever APJ friendly episode of Live Coding Happy Hour. And for today, what we got those of you who don't know about Live Coding Happy Hour, it's an episode where we go into the nuts and bolts of some of the new functionality. We have a lot of fun, as you know, and we have a lot of same kind of content available on our YouTube channel. So make sure you check out that. And also, we are in the middle of the Utah release, and there is a lot of content that is available in Utah. So make sure you check devlink.sn/Utah. It will come on your left side of the screen. And now, without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest for today. It's Daniel. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hey, Pranav. I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining, Daniel. And as we do live coding happy hour, those of you who are already watched our previous stream, you guys are familiar with that we start with drinks. It's like 2 p.m. in India, so I am drinking regular sparkling water. I don't know whether you are able to see it or not, but this is sparkling water that I'm drinking for today. What about you, Daniel?
Yeah, it's 2 p.m. for you, right? It's 11 a.m. for us. It's morning hours, so it's a kind of similar situation. And I'm actually in a physical ServiceNow office today. I'm not working from home, so it's a really boring can of Coke. But it has to keep me awake and do that, get through the day.
Okay, yeah, and a lot of people in comments say Pranav drinks water. Yeah, I'm drinking sparkling water. Yeah, that's there. So, so that's about the drinks. So Daniel, stage is all yours. Let's see what you have planned for us in RPA.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You mentioned it. RPA is today's topic, right? And Utah brings quite a set of new features. And I thought we'll go and build a robot that does some gaming for us. So I want to do some gaming robot. Let's see how that works out and what we can do. Please use the comments and chats. Pranav will be my monitor for the chat. And if you have some great ideas what the robot should do in addition to what I do, we'll go for it. We'll try it. As you know, live coding happy hour is something not pre-canned, not recorded, not practiced in that case. So what we're going to build today, I haven't built before. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Let's see how far we get. All
Perfect.
right. And yeah, Pranav, if you help me with any questions that come around, I didn't plan for introducing RPA. We had to create a toolbox lately and things like that, right? So let's assume you know a little bit about RPA, what it does. And let me introduce what I want to do today. So I did find a nice little website called textadventures.co.uk. Maybe some of you know that. If you have spare time, play some text adventures. It's a website with some couple of games on it, and there's one game which I kind of sounded funny to me. The world ends today, I think. Right, so that caught my interest, and I said, hey, let's play that game, or let's have my robot play that game for me, right? So the game works. We will have the robot go here, look at that game, and there's how it works, and then we just click play online. I'll do that in a moment. And that's how the game works, right? You get a web page, there's some introductory text, and you get a couple of buttons to press. I will try to make the robot press randomly any button to see what happens, right? You click that button, the page refreshes, you get some other text, you get some other buttons, some more text. Sometimes you have to wait a while for a button to appear. So we won't read all the text every time. That'd probably be boring. So there's the buttons that we're going to wait for. And then you click through and eventually the world ends, like here, right? Or light turns off and so things like that. And I want to make that robot in terms of dynamic to find the things. Eventually, if I click through that, there's one button at the end. Okay, so wow, we get a button where it says restart. That's kind of when the game ends, right? And until that point, I want to take the robot. When you click restart, you actually get a score. So I want to capture that score and record and see how good was my robot. That's the idea. So let's get started with
That's
it.
And that's so nice idea. Like I was thinking we'll do something inside the forms and all, but this is something super funny and super fun also. Let's get into it. I'm super excited.
All right, let's do that. Yeah, I thought something different, right? Not just the regular forms and lists and getting data from A to B. So let's close out the tab and maybe even get to a fresh new, oops, full screen is a bit different. Get to a fresh new Chrome. I have launched already Design Studio, our RPA Studio. We are on the Utah version, so everything is updated for Utah. And we will see some of the new Utah features. I'll point them out as we go through. So let's say text, the world ends. I think that was it, right? The world ends today. Bot. That's the bot we're going to be building. And it will be an unattended bot. It should actually do the whole thing without us doing something. Well, let's generate a new project. Here we are. That's good. And let's use one of the first new features we have in Utah is our recorder. You might have seen me on the Creator Toolbox using that one. Launch the recorder. There we see it's a recorder side panel here that tells me I am recording or I can record, let's say. So let's navigate to our web page. That's the page we want to work with. And if I now start my recording, we should hopefully get a little help on that screen. Let's scroll down to our game and see if it, there we go. Yep, you see the red bars or the red squares coming in saying that's our recorder saying, hey, do you want to do something here? I want to actually get onto that image. Oops, and come on, move over, hold control, and I want to click on that image. So I'm recording a click function. We're moving into the description of the game. Scrolling. Ah, that was the wrong one. Victorian Detective. Why did I do that? That was the wrong game. Let's go back. Maybe stop the recording and try that again. Do you want to exit? No, just stop. Throw that away, delete all. We do that again. That was the wrong game. Let's try that again. Text adventures. Record. Now let's make sure we get the right one. Here it is. The world ends today. This is the one we need. Wait for it to capture my mouse movement. It's basically waiting for the page to completely load and inject the code. There we go. Command, move over. No, wrong button. That was my problem. Not command, control. Okay. Come on here. You see, it's live. That's the whole idea of it, right? There we go. Click this one. That should get us to the world ends today. Yes, that's where we want to be. Now let's scroll up. There's the play online button. That's this one we need. And wait for it to kick in. That's depending on the page, and this page loads a lot of advertisement and commercials, as you see. So sometimes it just takes a bit. There we go. To react, there we get the click. Here we go. And we are in the game. That's basically the start of the recording. And even the start button is the first one I actually say is kind of one that we can capture dynamically. So I'm gonna stop my recording. We can see we have here the 2 steps in here. Let's save this recording into my project and call it launch game. We create a new global object which will have the click features, and let's call it just text adventures, something like that. That's our new global object. Save this recording. And that brings us to Desktop Design Studio. What it did now for us, it actually created a new activity called Launch Game. It created that global object that we said, Text Adventures, where we have the different screens and buttons. And it created this activity with a little flow. Now the labels are a bit long, so it doesn't look that nice. Let's rearrange it a little bit so we see what it's actually doing. We can see that it's waiting for that page to render. When the page is there, it checks if it's there. If yes, it's clicking on our image, on our game image, waiting for the next page to render. If it's there, it's clicking the start one. So that is easy. Let's try that out. Whoop, let's copy the URL because we need that one as well. Zit, copy.
And that's, I like to call out one thing, Daniel, like
Yep,
that's the power of universal recorder, like that we introduced in Utah. Because initially, before Utah, there was we had to manually define those things, right?
right.
So now with Utah, like it's super simple. You don't have to do anything. Like the system is doing everything for you. So that's so cool.
Absolutely. The only thing we didn't capture was kind of navigating to the web page. So I will add that now when we get to our main routine. I'll take text adventures and just say start function, put that here. We'll start that. And as parameters, we'll just use the URL of the web page. You can go here onto the application type, say this is actually, we want to do that in Chrome. Could use also Edge, right? And then we use our launch game and put that just on the back of it. I said we want to put it on the back of it, so let's do that. No, it doesn't. Okay, there we go. And we'll connect it like this. So that is our first start of the robot. Let's try that out, right? So Chrome is closed. We have no Chrome open. Let's just play and see what happens. There you go. It's loading Chrome. It goes to the web page, waiting for it to load. Then it should go into our game. It should, at least. There we go. It moves into the game, waiting for that page to load, and then it will actually start the game. The bot finish it. If we go here, yes, we are at the start of the game. Yay, that's where we want to be, right? Now let's
Yeah,
make that
and
logic. Yeah,
I'll just, sorry, Daniel, just like to
sure.
add one thing, like even after so many ads and all these things that are running on the website, it was able to detect the right tag or something. So
Yeah,
that's something new that I'm seeing after a long time. Such advanced AI that's there in the backend.
yeah. And we will see how we do that with the randomizing of the button, how clever it can actually be to find these buttons. So that'll be the next, let's say, interesting piece of the challenge, right? So let's go back to Studio. I could now basically use a recorder and record as I click through the game, but that's not a part of the idea, right? We want to randomly click buttons, and I cannot record random clicking. So we'll have to do a little different approach. I'll go into the Chrome connector or the universal app connector that we have so far. Let's see, we have already captured the world. And what's the page we are in? The world ends today, I think that's the title. Oop. Wait, and we have URL. Oh, let's capture a new page, just make sure we have the right one. Refresh. Here we go. The world ends today. I think that is the right one, I would say. Add the screen. Ah, that's this one. No, add screen. Then it's there already. Then it's this one. Okay, let's refresh. It's all green. Yeah, so it's this one. So let's capture an element on that screen. Capture element. It moves over. Now, see, it was the wrong screen. That's why. Let's stop. That was the wrong one. In that case, it's down this one. Capture an element here. That's not there. Okay. So what's happening? Refresh. That's the one we want. Add screen. Or is that just my mouse not clicking the button? Maybe the screen is off. It is. Let's make sure this is the URL we are on. Is that the URL we're on? We are. Okay, so let's take this one. That has to be the right one. I see what it is. It's this one, index 0. We'll take that one off. We currently have two tabs open, right? And index 0 means the first tab that matches the criteria. In my case, it's not the first tab, it's the second one. I should be able now to capture an element. Full screen. Move away. Should capture. Yeah, we go. I can capture elements here now, can I? No, I cannot. Okay, let's close this other tab for a moment. Move on over here, Studio. Now let's do that again. Capture an element. That is not there, okay. Capture element, you see that's where we do live codings. Refresh. close that. I was messing around with it. He didn't like that, it looks. One more time, configure, refresh the screens. Can't click the buttons. Why can I? They're a little bit off screen, it looks like. Maybe the screen sharing messes up my mouse clicks. Can't get there. Okay, let's save for a second, close it and reopen. Maybe there's something with the screen share that messes this up. As you might know, we on ServiceNow work with Mac laptops, so for all Windows stuff, we have to use virtual machines, and virtual machines then screen sharing through different Zooms and whatever sometimes behave a little weird.
Yes, maybe it doesn't detect the right screen, and that might be an issue. But yeah, that's the fun part about live coding APR. We'll
CS
explore it.
troubleshooting. Yeah, we'll explore it and we'll
Yes.
find out. Let's try again. The world ends today. We have our bot so far. There we go. Let's do that one more time. Zip. Text adventure. Configure. Get in here. I can't click that refresh button. Can't seem to find that. Chrome. Okay. But I'm gonna close Chrome and restart Chrome. We know the robot can do that, so we'll go to the game. Let's play it online. Close the other tab so we know where we are and try it one more time. Configure. I can't click refresh. Let me get out of full screen. Maybe full screen is an issue. Let me know if screen sharing is still good. Yeah, now I can. Can I? No, doesn't. Doesn't get me to that screen. Why not? And as usual, it was working before, right?
Maybe it's not detecting that screen. That's why it's the refresh option is not there. Or is it detecting?
I restarted the Chrome extension. Let's see if that is causing an issue. But I have the feeling I can't click on it because somehow it's not getting my click, which seems to be odd. Chrome. No, there's nothing happening when I click these two buttons. That one works, and I can navigate here. Refresh that. This one is obviously not live. That's okay. That's not there. But can we try to modify this one? URL equals. Let's maybe take the title off. Would that work? Refresh. No. Ah, there we go. Maybe it just took a long time and I'm too excited to move forward. Ah, refresh. Okay, it's loading. Let's keep it. If that's the case, let's go back full screen. A few more. Come on. I was there a second ago. Choose from the window. There we go. There we go. That is it. The world wants to end. Add screen. Now it works. Okay. Maybe I was just really not patient enough. Capture element. Here we go. That's what we need. Yeah, there we go. So we are back on track. We can capture elements. The one we want to capture is the start button. And as you see, the tag it's actually highlighting is an A tag. So it's a link. That's good. So let's call that just a button, if I can spell that correctly. We captured this specific button. And I go back to Studio. We have this button now. The way we typically identify buttons on web pages is, or elements on web pages basically, is by a locator, right? And ideally, a locator would go by ID. We find an element with a very specific ID. IDs don't change, they are unique, so we can always find the elements wherever they are on the web page. If we don't have an idea, the default fallback, if you want to put it that way, from our recorder and studio is using a CSS selector. So it's moving through the DOM tree, finding a certain path of elements, like in this case, a div with something squiffy, another div, a ends of type 3. So it's navigating that DOM tree to find that element, which is fine in a lot of cases if the page doesn't move, if the content doesn't move to different places. In our case, that would not help well. It will help for that initial button as that one we captured. It's there, but on the next screen, that won't be there. So what we can do is I'm going to change that locator to tag name, which means I'm actually searching for any element called A, also any tag A, a hyperlink on that web page. If I would refresh that now, we might have more than one. It's only one on that specific page, but if I move on and there are more than one buttons and other things, then there might be different links on that page. I can be a bit more precise by using these match attributes at the bottom, saying I need an A tag that actually has, let's say, a CSS class of type squiffy link. Or I can have a equals superstart or role equals link. So we have the different attributes that have been extracted by the capturing that I can use to find elements on the screen. Now I checked that web page before and I've seen all buttons actually are squiffy links. So that's why I say let's attribute class squiffy link is what I'm gonna need. This one is using a comparer of equals. You could also expand on that side here. Come on, if you highlight that one, you can see different properties and you could use different comparers like starts with, end with, regex and stuff like that to make your match attributes even more precise or less precise, however you want to have that, right? So let's use it like that for a moment. And that is a button that we have. So we can use, in this case, go to our newly captured button. It's this one. And as buttons do, they have a couple of methods. One is going to be a click. I'll move this click over. And let's execute that to see if we can click that button. Run from here and our web page. Yes, it moved on. It moved to the next one. Now, as I said, I'll try to find A links with that class tab. So this one supposedly has the same class tag. So I could use the same click, run from here again.
So
If it
Daniel,
works.
like I have a quick question for you
Sure.
about like you said A tags. So these are like the A tags, right? In HTML that you're referring to.
Correct.
That's the
Correct.
same thing, right?
That's correct. You can basically, like, would you go here to inspect that element on that page, what that button here is, get that Chrome help, and you can see it is an A tag with a class. So the class is rendering the button, but basically it's just an A tag with the text. And we have that try me. I bet I can understand. That's the text on that button. It's just an A tag for this particular website.
And we can also like fetch Y class also, right? Or is it just a tags? Maybe like the class that's there. Is there
Yeah.
any possibility we can do it with class?
So what the class is always attached to a particular HTML tag. And that's basically
Yes.
what I did here, right? We have the tag and the class I use as a
Hmm.
match attribute. I'm matching this class as additional parameter to our locator.
That's cool. Yeah. I wanted to see that, like how it's
Mhm.
working. Yeah.
Sure,
Perfect.
good. So let's have that click again until we are on a page where there's more than one button. I want to see what happens then. Okay, well, actually, I can click a few times myself till we get more than one button. Yeah, sometimes the page is like a bit funny. There we go. We have more than one button. That's the part I need. So now if I use the same thing, let's go into our configure dialog and say I'm going to refresh that button. I did expect me to say it finds 3, but it doesn't. Okay, refresh. Only okay. So let's inspect what the different buttons are. Maybe something wrong here with my logic. So we can inspect, we can see the first button is this one, Squiffy link section, exactly what we expected, right? And the next button under here is a Squiffy link section also. And the third one is Squiffy link set. So we have 3 different A tags with the same class. That's what I would expect our connector to find. So why doesn't it find that? What do? We say the tag name A and Squiffy link section. Refresh. Come on. Refresh. Doesn't highlight. Which one do you see? Highlight should actually put in a red square around the button it sees. It doesn't do that. Okay. Something is weird with my connector today. Maybe I'm too hectic again. Let's see. Refresh
Connector
clean.
knows that we are in live coding happy hour, so it's behaving a bit weirdly.
It is. Okay, let's recapture that and try again. Capture element. Let's say we take the third one. Just call that button 2 for the time being. Let's get plus. Move over. We got our button 2, which is this one. We'll move to a tag name selection. Say refresh. 1. Come on, there's more than one A tag on that page. We know it. There is no name that we can use. There's no ID. And I didn't select any attribute. That is behaving weird. Okay, let's do something else. Let's see, maybe it's just that dialog not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So let's see, we have that initial button that we captured first, and usually we can have here a get instance count to count how many of these are on the page. Let's see what we get here. 3, that's what I want to see. Okay, so it's the dialog that doesn't work for some reason. What I would have expected to show you that, and maybe that works then in your instance as you maybe replay that, when you do a refresh on that one, it's evaluating all the criteria on that page and will tell you in square brackets behind that a red 3 in that case, saying, hey, I actually find 3 buttons with that, which is exactly what I want. So why it's not showing up in that dialog, I don't really know for the moment, but we can see it's working here, right? I do here an instance count on that element. And if I do here the preview data of the output, we see there's 3. So we say, yes, there are 3 hits of buttons, exactly what we expect. If I would now do a click like before, it's just taking the first button. So it will always hit the first element and do that. That's not exactly what we want, right? We want to have a randomized clicking of different buttons. So what I can do is, I can do, say, I count how many are there. If there are more than 1, well, then we do a randomization and click on whatever our random function tells us. So let's build that. Go for a decision. I'll take a decision after instance count. And let's say count is bigger than 1. So we find more than 1. This decision box is a really smart one. You can type all kind of different criterias, evaluation criterias, right, and formulas. Now I get an input for everything for the variable. I just put in that count. Say, hey, that's my count. So we get more than 1. And if we have more than 1, I need to randomize, right? I need to find a random number. Glad our robots do have something like that. We can have random numbers, random passwords, random strings. So in my case, we'll need a number. And we'll need that number at the true port. That's the true port. So when we have more than 1, we actually need to randomize. And you see the random is saying we needed a random number between 1 and 1000. Well, actually, I need it not to 1000. There's only 3 buttons, right? And you guessed that. We'll just take the count from there and say this is the random stuff we actually need. I'm just trying to make it a little bit nicer so you can see where the lines are going to. So we generate a random number between 1 and the max number 3. Awesome, we have that. Now we need to tell that button saying, okay, this is the button you actually have to press. And for this one, we have set element index. Right? So on the
So
button, you've seen,
Daniel,
yep.
sorry to interrupt you. Like one question that I think I'm getting is like when you selected 1, 2, 3, will it include 1, like the first one, or should we do from 0 to 3, something like that?
That's a very good question that I don't know exactly. Let's try a few times, right? Let's just run that
Yes.
function a few times and see what we get. Run, and we see the input was now the 3. So we do 1, 2, 3, and we did get a 2. Well, let's run it again. This time, again a 2. Okay, maybe you're right. It's always a 2 now. Yeah, so you're right. You're probably okay. So let's start at 0. That's the first thing, and
And I
see if
think
we.
it's not taking the 3 also, so we have
Yeah,
to put 0 to 4. It's
Yeah,
only
you're
taking the
probably
middle
right.
one.
Now we got a 1, which is good. And we got a 2. Let's see, can we get to a 3? No, we don't probably, right? Yeah, so what we can do here is in that case, we just transform the data coming in here as the max, and we actually saying it's not the value, it's actually a value plus 1, which would make it to a 4, right? So that's a little transform that happens on that data port. So the value that comes in will be increased by 1, and we are 0 to 4. Let's run and see if we get also a 3. There's the 3. Yeah. Good call out there, Pranav. There's a 2.
And
So we can run that as often as we want, and we get different numbers. Very good.
and I love this preview feature. Like you just click off a button, you just check that particular action. That's
Yep.
so cool.
That's really helpful as you develop your robot, right? Absolutely. So we got this return now, and I said that button has the feature of get instance count, so we know how many are there. And there's that set element index, which element out of that count you actually want to modify. Default is 0, so in this case it's not 0. I'll take the value off and move, oops, our output of the random function here. Say that's the one we actually want to modify. And after that, we can do our click. So that would compose our logic for if there is more than one button. If there is only one button, we could straightly directly click it. Now, as we modify that set element index, sometimes I would just basically say, you know what, just to be really sure, I'll also set that element index down here, but down here I'll set it to 0 because I want to make sure I'm at the very first element, right? As we run in a loop later on, we don't know if that index is still from the previous screen somewhere else. Now we can go into the same click. Yeah. Move, connect, click. So that would be kind of our logic saying count. If there's more than one, get me a random number, set it, click. If it's only one, set it to that one and click. So that is our logic to click these screens. So let's see what's happening right now. And maybe we want to do something else, console for the time being. No, that's in the toolbox, to see which buttons we actually clicked because we won't see it on screen, right? So let's take a console log, and put that right before that click feature. And we output which one we actually clicked. Come on. But now in this case it's 0. In this case I don't know. It's the index. So I'll need 2 of them. I'll need to make it separate. Copy paste. Put that up here. No, the other one. This one. Move that up and say now we just take this one, the output of our random. That's the one we clicked. And I'm silly. I could do a proper message and stuff like that, right? But just put in the numbers in the console log to say that's the button we clicked, so we can actually see what it was. Okay, here we go. And the console we'll have down here. So open that up, pin it here. And let's run that for this particular page. We see it's going through and it says I clicked 0, which is the first button. Page moved on. We only have 2 buttons now. I could also, as we just run one, not in a loop yet, I can still do preview on the data, right? We see the 0 here, we see the count of 3 here, so I can rerun it. It's running again. This time I got a count of 2. It was again clicking 0. Yeah, random is not always random, but yeah. This is only one button, so that should also work, right? It was still going in the current execution. It still went up here. We had 2 buttons. It randomized that. It randomized it to a 0. Yeah, awesome. So let's run it again. There's only one button. That is again a 0. And we are here at the restart feature. So that's where we want to build into stop and actually take the score. It's not there yet, but it's also a button. So we can also run this one. It's obviously a 0 button. We move here. So it actually works, right? We get there. Let's see, it's a 3. It should have maybe a different button than 0 at one point. We're 0. Our random is awesome today. We have more than one button. We do. Let's see if we. I want to see it do a different button. No. Doesn't like us. Okay. Run. More buttons. Restart. Okay, let's navigate. There's 3 again. I want to see more pressing something else. There we go. Button 2. I wanted to see that. So we did press another button now. Yeah, and it's a different screen. Something went wrong with the game. It looks pretty awkward in that picture. But that's our logic to basically go through randomly pressing buttons. It's not that difficult, is it? Finding the objects, counting them, and go through them. How are we on time? Halfway through. Ooh, we get still plenty of time. That's good. So let's build that logic in and make sure we get the text of the button. We want to know what's the name of that button, what was the button sequence. And if the text is restart, we want to stop, right? Because that is basically where the game ends. So as just after that set element index, all these buttons, if I take the filter off here, also have different get features. And in our case, let's use get inner text just before we click the button. That will tell us what is the text on that button or on that hyperlink. Come on. Actually, I could do that before the console log, and I could put that into a log. Yeah, that makes more sense. Let's make it a bit more robust. Let's create a variable. Click, call that button index, and say our random button, the output of the random is, come on. There we go. I'll use now the feature called data teleportation. The output of the random I'm storing in my variable, so I can use it more than once. Like I'm going to store it here, push it in here to the set element index. Let's take that debug out. We'll do that debug differently. Come on, move away. Yes. Then we need this variable here to be set to 0. Okay, that didn't get into the line as I wanted because we use the index 0 here. So I'll do a 0 on that one. And then I want that text first. Come on, get away. Can't. Okay. I want this first. I'll need to redraw the lines here a little bit. Reordering a bit on the robot, and clicking these elements is sometimes a bit. Here we go. I want to take that one off and maybe put that to the click. So we want to get the text, which is good. We have the text. We move in here. Come on. Get the text. And then we'll do a format. No, toolbox. Let's format the output, what we want to have. Format. That is this one, formatting text element. Very handy tool to concatenate strings, do all kinds of formattings. I'll put in 2 inputs. One is the text of it, and the other one is the index that we have pressed on. Let me click here on that little gear icon to say what to do with these 2 inputs. And now let's see if I get the right square brackets. It's another thing that's always funny in remote desktops. Here we go, 0. That's the button ID, and that's the text of the button. It could even be a bit more nice. Button ID, button text. So we concatenate that a bit, have some nice output. And say once that's formatted, we use this text for the console log, not a simple number anymore. Get that message here. And we have that. That actually looks good. Let's run it once. We are somewhere. Where are we? There's one button called restart. Okay. So run. Come on. Run from here. And it failed. Okay, why did it fail? Web element couldn't be found. Okay, let's click restart and try again. There it does. And now it says button 0, button text was YouTube really loudly. So we get information from the website. We know which button we pressed. We know which text we pressed. And that's kind of what I wanted to capture to see, okay, that's the text. We could capture the whole text and basically record everything that was happening on the page if we wanted to. But that's a good part. So we're here. And now we would want to have, say, if that button name is actually restart, we need to do something differently, because restart is ending the game and restarting the game, right? Not just go back into the loop. So again, we can do a decision back here just before we click and say button text equals restart. Was that capitalized or not? Somebody that took notice on that? I'll need to click through if it was capitalized. No, it's not. Okay. So we say button text equals, actually that should be in quotes. Probably had the wrong quotes because it gave me a variable which I didn't want to. Yes, please change it. There we go. That's what I want. So the button text is this part. So let's pass that in here and move this line up here. Say if that button text is restart. If it's not, if it's a false port, we can just click it and say that's good. But if it's restart, we actually don't want to click it. We want to record something else first or change our flow, something like that. So that should be doable. And we have currently the restart button on screen. So let's see what happens if we run that piece of automation. Run from here. It runs through. And come on, move back here. You could see that it actually came to the decision point, but it didn't execute that one. That was from before. We could actually clear the log so we can see that really. That makes more sense. I'll try again. Run from here. You can see it run through. And it's at that decision it stops. It's not moving into the click because it actually, that decision is matched. It's true, right? The input we get here, if we want to preview that data, is actually saying restart. So we are matching that restart, saying, oh, that's where we need to do something differently. So, and the different thing I want to do is actually click on that restart, and after it, capture the score. The score will be updated once I click on it. If I click that, you can see the score up here. There, it was there before, and I think it's different when I choose a different path through the game, whatever that path might be, we get different scores. No, that was the same score. Just trying to get where we have a different score. Come on.
And Daniel, like one thing, can we add delays also? Like, for
Sure.
example, there is a text that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely. Restart. Yeah, see, there was the score 200. After the restart, we get the score. And I'll show you the delay in a moment anyway, because when we have the loop, I actually want to put in delay so we can see what the robot is doing, right? It's not like bam, 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 and running through everything, right? So on every page, just have it sit there a second or two so we can see exactly what's doing. Absolutely. That's a very good suggestion. So we are here now. What we still need to do, yes, that's correct. We still want to press that restart button, which is the same button, so we can use that same feature. And after that, we capture the score. So we can use that button. And the robot gets a bit bigger. And let's capture the score. We configure that. We are still on that page, so we capture a new element, which is that score piece up here. And call that score, which is a p tag, which is fine. Okay, let's capture that. Close it. And we have that score here. And you see it's using the CSS selector, this path, Squiffy section 82 div. I think for now that's fine. There should only be one, right? So let's refresh and see if it finds it. It's green, so that should be fine. You can even sometimes, with some of the elements, you can test here, like get text. They say get text, and you would see what text it is, but on this element it doesn't. That's okay. What we will do is go back to Studio. No, not here. Go back to Studio. Click on your new score and get inner text, because we want a text that's in between the tag, right? We have that p tag. We want to part the text that's in between that p tag. So if I move that one over here, and if I would run that now, you should hopefully see the text score some 200 or whatever it was. Score equals 200. Exactly what we want. Awesome, right? So let's put in another console element so that our robot can say how good it was. Put that in the output, and here we are. So are we done yet? Is that all we need? I guess we need a loop so it actually runs through the whole exercise more than once, right? So let's do a loop. In our toolbox, we have different forms of loops. We get a for each loop, a for loop, or a while loop. So that's kind of the different programming technologies you can basically do, right? In my case, I will do a while loop. It's kind of do until, right? We do a while loop, while, let's say, game running. That's a variable we'll be using. That's not there yet, so let's create a new variable. Here it is. How did I call it? Game running. Game running. So at the beginning, we need to initialize that variable. So we do that before the while loop. Okay, come in here. We set that variable to true. Oh, yeah, it is. We start with true. Move in here. And now this while has two outputs. One is the control port for looping, so that happens within the loop. And the other one is what's happening once the loop completes. So when the loop completes, we actually go to end. And we can take this one back down here after the game launched. We say when we're done, we end. We could close down the browser and things like that. And inside the loop, we do what we do best, clicking buttons. The only thing it's missing now is we need to set that variable to false at the time when we're done. And now that we already have that message here, we know that's the place where we are done. So we'll take our variable here, put that here, and name it to false. This will actually tell the variable to be false. And once it moves back into that while box here saying, hey, are we still in game? No, we are not. Then it will stop. That's the idea of how it should be working. And now let's add the delay, as you said, Pranav. Let's say just before the click of that button, where do we have the clicks? If we find that, we have these are a click and this is a click. Every component in Studio has properties. When you select them, you see properties on the bottom right. And there's a delay after execution or a delay before execution. So in this case, I would just want to say, let's keep it in 2 seconds before it clicks so we can read what's on the screen. And maybe also for this one, keep it for 2 seconds before we do that. And you can do that on any element on your canvas, right? If that's a format text component or the debug component, all of them have these delay options. It's just a standard option any component has in Design Studio. That helps also if you're working with remote systems that are maybe a little bit slower, they can't take the input or the processing as fast as a robot can do. You can use these to slow down your robot.
That I thought there might be some kind of activities in the middle that will be added, but it's already defined in the action itself. So
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
That's a default set for every action. Yes, we don't have a pause component. Like, so if you would go here, like for the toolbox, say, I need a pause. We don't have that, but these delays is basically the pause. It is a bit hidden as if you look at your canvas, you don't see it. You actually need to go onto that click component. Here is it. Yeah, so you could argue if you would want to see a pause or maybe some color coding to see, yes, that might be an enhancement we can do.
And Daniel, like as we are seeing a lot of component on the screen that's there, is there any way we can group certain components like how we do in flows? We have actions, we have inputs and outputs. Is there any possibility we can group certain things in this?
Yes, absolutely. We have these what we call activities, and you could see them as subflows if you want so, right? And you like I had that launch game, which is a activity that launches the game. I can have multiple activities, and I could move some of these components into the new activity over, so that my main activity stays clean and lean. Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. That's great.
So we got like 10 minutes left. Awesome. Let's have it run and see if it works, right? I would say we'll close down our browser. No, not here. Close down all our browsers because the robot is intended to actually launch the browser, go to the game, and then run through. Let's see what happens if we start it. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
That's the fun part. Like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't.
You can see already we knew that this part would work, right? It's actually finding the game, it's launching the game. There we go. And now it's in the game. Now that's where we have the 2 seconds pause, so we can actually read what's on screen. Oh, it did click something. 2 seconds wait. It clicks the next. Oops, and it failed. So the first two buttons worked. We said it clicks so whether it's start talking about clouds, and then it failed saying I couldn't find that button that you want me to press. What's that page? Maybe the button came too late. Maybe we need a delay here for that page, because actually, yes, that's true. Every time we run back, we don't wait for the page to be refreshed. That's a very good point that we should add, right? So let's take this page and say wait for all elements. Make sure the page is actually rendered before we click the next button. That's a very good thing we should add into our loop. You see I just dragged it onto the connection line, and it's automatically connecting to the right place. I can just move it around a bit to make it look nicer, and it's right at the place where you need it. So, okay, let's try again. Close that one, clear the locks, clear, and rerun. That's one of the elements or scenarios where we've seen we have been too fast. We were trying to click the buttons as they were not there yet. We saw when I played through the game a little earlier that sometimes it renders very slowly, does line by line text and stuff like that. So wait for all elements didn't help. Okay, that did not help to get here. So let's go here and say our button that we want to actually have. Let's wait for create on that specific button instead of the page. Make sure that button is there. Try that one.
So we can add more delay also, Daniel, right?
We can also add more delays. I try to avoid delays as they are kind of not really deterministic, right? It's always 2 seconds, but you still don't know if the page is ready. So I try to work with these wait fors because they are really trying to wait on the events of that web page.
Gotcha.
Okay, one more time, launching the game. There we go. And the wait for create is actually really smart, right? The default setting is, you might have seen that quickly, that there was a 30. So it means it waits up to 30 seconds for that element to appear on screen. But up to means whenever it sees that element, it moves forward. It doesn't need to wait that 30 seconds. So yeah, we were at the button restart, which is great. And then we tried to get to the score, and it said my score couldn't be found. And that is probably the same thing. We didn't wait for that score to render, right? It's a new screen, so we need to wait for that to render. Same thing, go into score, make a little bit of room here. Use the wait for create from the score. And it's important that you use the correct wait for create, right? If I drag that, there we go. You can see it's called score. So it's waiting on that score element. And now I'm running out of a bit canvas space here, because you have these wait fors and any of the elements you capture on the web page, if it's a button, if it's a text, if it's a link, whatever it is. So you can wait for that specific element to render, and that makes your robot more resilient to change. Clear that log, restart. Launching the game takes quite a long time. We could probably navigate directly to the game URL instead, right? But I thought it was kind of fun to record how to get there. There we go. We get that restart button with a score. And I'll expect our robot to come back now. It's still somewhere here. Okay. Let's do its magic because we are at the restart, right? Yeah, it's still running. Not sure where it is running, but it is running. Could be such a wait for create, right? It's up to 30 seconds. Yeah, there we go. It actually, did it move somewhere? No. Okay. So where did it fail? It failed at get instance count of the button. It couldn't find the buttons again. Sometime it looks like we have some problems identifying the buttons every now and then. Element button couldn't be found. If I probably rerun that now, it will find it. Okay, so maybe let's, as you said, put a delay here. Come on, get instance delay before execution. Get it another second here to wait for that. As we have some issues with this one, and maybe also, okay, the feature, what was the last? Say nothing. So that was the button we had before. Okay, let's run it one more time, see what happens from here. No, it doesn't find that. Okay, we don't have a button on this page, or what kind of button do we have? Is it looking different? Inspect that page. Squiffy link section. So it is it? Basically it is fine, right? Squiffy link section. That's the configuration we have made to find buttons, if I'm not mistaken. No.
We are putting like A tags, right? Like A
Yeah,
tags to find buttons, right? So
yeah, it's the A tag, and it's that squiffy link section. That's the attribute we're gonna use to identify the button. Somehow we couldn't find that. Refresh. Or is the page different? Maybe did the URL change? Good reason. Yes, the URL changed. Look at that. It's now called index.html,
yes,
whereas we are looking for games. Oh, no, it's the same. So the page is fine. Yeah, but the button inside the page is not there anymore. That's weird. We'll take that off and search for a link. It doesn't find it. So something seems to be wrong with the connector, not finding the elements. It's a bit weird. Let's delete that when we don't need that. That one delete. Yes. The score, can we find that? No, it doesn't find anything on that page. That's weird. Done. Let's do a save. Let's try one just to turn that one on and off. Okay. Reload the page and try it one more time. Nope, doesn't want to find it. That is weird. Weirdo. Okay. Okay, something I guess we'll have to spend a bit more time in our connectors, but that's the way it should be working. Let me see, is there a new version maybe that I would need to update my connector? I might not have updated that one to you, I still run an old version. Extensions, go to the Chrome Web Store. But I would think that Chrome actually tells me that there's something new.
yes. Let's
That's it, yeah,
see.
it's added. So it is there. Where do we see the version 1.2? And I have 1.2, yeah. So that is up to date. That should do it. Okay. If I close the previous tab, does it find it then? Was it looking at the wrong tab maybe? Let's run from here. No, that is weird. Okay. What we could be doing is, I closed it already. Okay. This one I think is still open, right? That's the other page. We could, but that doesn't help. I don't think it helps. We can close that other tab, which is probably this one. Yep. Okay. So what we can do here is, as we launch the game, we can use this tab and say close to make sure we only have that one tab open that we need. Close the other one. Okay, let's try that. Don't think it will do a big difference, but no, stay here. Clear, run. So relaunching the game as usual. That's good. Getting there. Now clicking the play button. And now I would expect the other tab to close. Yep, there we go. It closes the other tab. Now it's trying to click 3 different random buttons. It looks like it's working at the moment. We get our 1 or 2 seconds delay. And it looks already too long again. Someone has some issues really getting to that page. Yeah, it's probably again down here trying to find. I assume we'll see that in roughly 30 seconds. And I will stop there somewhere.
Maybe.
There we go.
Maybe we need to have another part of this episode, part two
Yeah,
of
continue that. Yeah.
RPA.
Yeah.
Continue this thing.
It didn't find the score. Now it did find the rip button, and yeah, you see the wait for create actually returned after 30 seconds with a false. You can see, I hope you can see the pop-up. I can also do a preview here.
Yes.
I can see the false. So it says, I couldn't find that element, but we don't respect that, right? We actually just move forward trying to still get the content of it, which doesn't work. So we could do a decision here, like it doesn't find and have some proper error messaging. But the interesting part for me is actually, why doesn't it find it? It's up here, right? So that's something a bit weird to me at the moment. Certainly something I will spend some more time in debugging and figuring out how it works.
Yes, and I think like for our viewers who are looking into it, they got a lot of elements like to play around with. There are a lot of things that they can try, and maybe we can have a part two of this, and in which we'll go and figure out what's wrong with it.
Absolutely. Diffie section. I'm happy to come back, be on the show, and do that again. You see, I'm curious. I'm still inspecting here as we talk. Maybe I'll find the reason in the next 10 seconds. Actually, yeah, this one doesn't. It's now section 98. Okay, that's weird. Okay, so that's why you didn't find the score. That number here is
Mm.
changing. So I'll need to find a different way how to identify that score element. The squiffy section is not what I need. Okay, so I'll need
Maybe
to.
r- regex or something like, for example, the num if the number is changing, if we just keep it like
Yeah,
any number, if it's
yeah.
in the particular tag, so that might
Absolutely, and
work.
that's something we can do. I can show you where, but I'm running a bit out of time. But yes, we can do that. And that was the part I think that's where you're referring to, right? If I get that diffie section here, I can actually move that down here as an attribute and have here the comparer to change to regex and stuff like that. So I can get more intelligent here how to find the elements, and that's probably what I would need to do to find the score. If I can
Yep,
take that
I
off for the
think
time being, then it will find probably anything, but not what we need. I did find something. Let's see what we get. Get inner text, run from here. What did we get? Score 300. Okay, so I did find it. So I just took that squiffy section off, and it seems that is it. Maybe that was it. We are
woohoo.
lucky. It probably takes some more testing now to run through a couple cycles and see if that actually really is what we need, or if we get some wrong text in some occasions.
I think we got all the things like we were able to get exactly like we were able to run the game truly from end to end. So that's cool, and that shows the power of ServiceNow RPA. You can have fun with it. It's not just about, yeah, doing it whatever in ServiceNow. You can use it for other activities also. So thank you very much, Daniel, for showing us the school RPA live coding happy hour demo. And yeah, it's time to rate our drinks. So I was drinking this sparkling water, and I can say it's 5 on 5. So we can't go wrong with water. What about you?
Well, the Coke is warm by now, and you know how warm Coke tastes, right? So it's not a five
Oh,
for five anymore. It's probably maybe a
it may
two and a
be
half or
2.
so. Yeah.
Yes. Um,
Success. Yeah, Queenie.
well,
Thank you. Partly success.
it's that's great. All right. I think, folks, thank you very much for joining. Anything, Daniel, you want to plug in before we go off?
Oh, a shout out to your background. Knowledge is coming around the corner. It's about 6 weeks off, right? Mid of May, in Las
Yes.
Vegas. You can meet a lot of people of us live. I'll be there. Not sure, Pranav, will you be there?
I'll be there also in knowledge, so we'll catch up.
Absolutely.
All
And if
right.
you are, if the audience is there, come and find us, see us, talk to us.
Yes, absolutely. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.
Bye.